let's get into it. Chad Millman, the Action Network, actionnetwork.com. I'm looking at some interesting lines here, including that Eagle-Packer one, which has moved all over the place. But we'll start off. First off, let's bring in Chad Millman. How are you, pal?
I'm good, fellas. How are you? That Gonzaga game the other night, I love this college team. I know we're not talking about college, but I love Gonzaga. It's hard not to have a soft spot in your heart for that program. And, like, they finally get to the top. They are, like, treated as a legit major program with incredible talent. They get Jalen Suggs, their highest recruit ever. And when he went down the other night, I felt legitimately sad until I heard the news the next day that he was okay and, like, it was going to be fine if he came back into the game or whatever. But, man, that just...
Yeah, it looked ugly at first. At first, It looked pretty bad, and then he came back. It didn't even look. He didn't look all that healthy when he came back in, but I guess he was all right. So, but yeah, it was that Gonzaga team to me is by far and away the best team in the country, and then Baylor, and then the number 3 team. They're all going to fight all year. Those 2 teams will play tonight, so that should be fun. But let's look at the big boys on Sunday here. All right, so let's throw this one your way. Giants +10. At the Seahawks. It's up to 11. It started at 10. And you got the Giants coming off that game last week where they struggled to beat a bad Bengals team. And double digits in the NFL is kind of tough. But I feel like I like Seattle here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a pass. Like, Seattle's defense is actually getting much, much better. Since they got Carlos Dunlap, they're getting significant pressure. Jamal Adams has been really good at blitzing the quarterback. So their defense overall is starting to improve a little bit. But I get very nervous betting on veteran QBs who are getting a full week of practice, playing against mediocre defenses in which the entire public is on the favorite. It just sets a bad precedent. And Colt McCoy has just been around long enough that he knows how to manufacture enough points and enough drives to keep it close enough, to keep it in the backdoor cover range. And I'm averse to betting on the Giants anyways. Like with Danny Jones at quarterback, I just don't think he's very good. And so it puts you in a bad spot. Give me now needing to root for the Giants in a backdoor scenario. I don't like it. But I don't trust I don't like the 11. It's too much.
Yeah, I kind of zone in, I feel like, in the NFL on these double-digit games because you don't see it that often. The Dolphins opened at 10.5 against that Bengals team who, has terrible quarterback play. Now, the line is up to 12 in certain spots. It's 11.5 in most places. But can I feel like I ask you every week, can I trust the Dolphins? They put them in such odd spots. They're a favorite on the road. Now it's a double-digit favorite. We couldn't trust them, and I think we all agreed that week against Denver that was a spot we couldn't trust them. How about this spot?
I was more trustful at 10.5. Not so much at 11.5 as it inches higher. You said you're seeing a little bit of 12. I haven't seen that, but let me.
You should go to the actionnetwork.com.
I'm just flipping tabs here to the compare odds.
It's 12 at
actionnetwork.com.
It's 12 at BetMGM, 11.5 everywhere else.
Got it. So I don't like a double-digit favorite here either. Like, it's too much, and especially when I feel like, honestly, I just see games on the board I like a lot better. And you say you tend to look first at the double-digit games. I tend to look at home dogs first. And, like, how do I feel about home dogs, especially short home dogs? And there are a few of those on the board that I like, and there's one that I actually don't like.
Well, how about this? What about the Cardinals at home? It opened up as them as a favorite against the Rams, but now they are a short dog, 2.5 and 3 in other places. What are your thoughts?
I really like the Cardinals here. I'm glad you asked. You took the transition like a pro. The Cardinals are the most interesting game on the board this week, and it's actually, in sort of the gambling Twitter sphere, been the game that people are having the most questions about and there's the most debate about. And I do feel like while certainly the Rams had their troubles against San Francisco, there are things that the Cardinals are, let me finish my first thought. The Cardinals are coming off a couple of bad weeks, especially a bad loss against the Patriots. in which Cam Newton, he didn't even throw for the length of the football field. But they got that's a sort of check the box score game, right? Because the Cardinals could have won if their field goal kicker made a field goal at the end of the game. They gave up some really bad special teams plays, but they essentially dominated that game. And they did it by pressuring the quarterback. And Jared Goff is horrible against pressure. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league against pressure. So you're giving me a team that is undervalued in the Cardinals because of the way they've played, and a team where people probably still think there's an issue with Kyler Murray's shoulder, which I think he's okay. And you're getting a defense that can pressure a quarterback who's not very good with pressure. And that team has not been the same since they lost their left tackle, Andrew Wentworth. So all those reasons, I like the Cardinals.
You got a lot of short dogs all over the place this week. You got Houston. You got Atlanta. I don't like any of those teams, but do you like them in these spots? Atlanta played very well last week, by the way. And you got the Saints, who are tough to read with Hill. You don't never know what they're going to do game plan wise from week to week with him. And the Colts, they right when you want to buy into them, they disappoint you.
Yeah, I would buy in. I think now is a good time. This is a very buy low, sell high situation. You've got the Colts coming off a beating from the Titans at home. You've got the Texans, who just beat up on the Lions the last time people saw them, in a game that they looked even better than you would expect a team to look against the Lions. Like J.J. Watt had a great game. The defense had a great game. But a couple things to consider here. Number one, Frank Reich is just a better coach than Romeo Crennel. Their defense, despite what it looked like against the Titans, is just much better than the Lions. They're not going to make the Texans look as good as they did. And Will Fuller being suspended has an impact on the Texans offense. There have been times this year where Deshaun Watson has talked about the chemistry he has with Will Fuller. There was a time this year where there was talk of trading Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson being adamantly opposed to it and publicly being opposed to it. There was a chemistry there. He helped stretch the defense in ways that no one else on the Texans has been able to because of his relationship with Deshaun Watson. There's a trust, and I think that has an impact. So the Colts are going to be the short road favorite that I actually like.
How do you feel about this Titans-Browns game? It opened up with -6 for Tennessee. It's pretty much around 5.5 everywhere except for BetMGM, which is 6.5.
I think it's yucky.
It does scream that way.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with it. Like, the Baker Mayfield is the biggest mystery in football to me because he is the face of that team and they win in spite of him. And it's going to be really interesting to see how far this team can go because it is not a team that wins on his shoulders. You see it every week and even last week, like just missing really easy throws. And this is a team that's winning on the running game. It's winning on defense. But the Titans, on the flip side, and these are the reasons I'm not betting it. Like, I have no faith in Baker. I don't like the Browns. Like, I'm not convinced of the Browns overall, but I'm not convinced of the Titans either. Like, the best thing they have going for them is Derrick Henry, who's a monster in the late season. And while I'm impressed with sort of some of the wins they've had, I still am thinking about the Titans from earlier in the year where they were too inconsistent, and it's clouding my judgment.
All right, Chad Millman from the Action Network. As we'll close out with this, and then we'll get to your favorite play of the week. Packers opened at 6.5, up to 9, 8.5. Most places 8.5 over Philly. I feel like every week people are waiting for Philly. Is now a time to dump a bunch of money because Philly is like in these games. They just, they find ways to lose. They can't score. But the Packers seemingly beat up on everyone. Do you like them in this spot, though, against a team like Philly who's not shown any sign of life all season?
It's so gross, but you have to do it. You really do. And look, it's not dissimilar from a little bit of what we talked about with the Cardinals. Obviously, the Eagles are trash, but they can get pressure on the quarterback, which is not great for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think that the Packers will be able to run all over the Eagles defense. And I do think that Miles Sanders can make a dent against the Packers defense in the rushing game. So there are ways for the Eagles through a ball control game plan to keep this game close And as we saw, like, they're also a team where Doug Peterson, because of the way he calls plays, you can expect him to maximize the opportunities for points. And as we saw, a backdoor situation, that is just ugly. And also, don't forget, like, I think we've talked about this. The Eagles were in the dumps last year, went on the road to Green Bay, and they won. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that this is a team that somehow gets its act together, although that's not something I'd be betting on the money line.
All right. Your favorite play of the Sunday card is what?
Well, we did hit it. We hit the Cardinals, which was absolutely my favorite play. But the other game that I'm looking at is the Falcons as 3-point home dogs. And look, they just played the Saints 2 weeks ago. I was all over the Falcons in that game because it was Taysom Hill coming back, starting, and the Falcons were playing really, really well. And then they kind of, they didn't play so well. And they scored 9 points, and they were only scoring field goals, and the Saints defense played great. But I do think now that that was also a week where they didn't announce Taysom Hill was the quarterback until late in the week, and I think the Falcons were prepping for Jameis Winston, and they just weren't prepared for Taysom Hill. Now they are, and he hasn't played well, and I do think that game was probably an anomaly. So I will be on the Falcons as home underdogs.
All right, there you go. Make sure you keep checking out the actionnetwork.com. You could shop the best lines all over and all the different apps, whatever one you use. You can find out what the line is at each one and kind of shop it around. Money lines, totals, spreads, public betting, where all the odds are going for every sport, not just the NFL, college basketball, soccer. We're on it all the time. And Chad is with us on Fridays here to kind of take a look at some of the weekend action. He's Chad Millman from the actionnetwork.com. Thanks, Chad.
Thank you. Enjoy the weekend.
You do the same. And, of course, he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline.